Okay, say it's our eyebrow mech, and we want to mount this in here. So we want to find out, if you remember, this was the one that we built for this head, and we marked those lines for the pivot points. So what we want to do is open this up, and this is actually going to glue right in, and I usually will glue it in about halfway back on the foam so that when I come around with this other part, I can glue that and it sandwiches it in there. Now, this foam is pretty soft, so this is going to collapse. The other thing that I'll do is I'll put some standoffs in there. So what I want to do is measure the distance inside from the mouth plate to this plate right here. So I'll get my ruler. So we put our ruler in, and we're at 1.5 inches from the top to the bottom. So we're right there at 1.5 inches. So what I would want to do is take a piece of dowel rod or a couple small squares of scraps of wood and cut them at 1.5 inches. So I could use this, a little piece like this, and I'm going to glue them right up the face, like in the corners, on the inside, and then when I set my mech on, I'm going to glue them to the bottom of that mech as well. So when essentially I'm putting them in here, they're also going to help support this mech. Now it's easier if you're doing that, if you're going to do standoffs and you've already got the mouth plate installed, it's easier to glue them to the mouth plate first and then glue them on this when you set it on. If you try to glue them on first and set it in here, it's a pain. Oops, it's a real pain trying to line everything up and get it glued on the inside of the head. So if you're going to do it, make your standoffs, glue them in here first, and then set this on. The big key though to keep this from shifting around is really sandwiching it between the foam though. So if you get that halfway point, get that sandwiched in, it's going to keep that from shifting around. The standoffs just keep it from collapsing. Pop your eyebrows off, mark your holes, and when you flip this, you're going to have to stretch it. Now, I'm going to finish up this other mech, and then we'll go ahead and glue that in. That same principle will apply for these iMechs as well. They're all, if they're not attached to the mouth plate, they all will attach that same way with those standoffs. Which is another thing too, we're talking about spring strength. If you start to get too strong of a spring and you need to pull down way too hard than is necessary, you run more risk of collapsing the puppet and having to reinforce and reinforce. If you're doing that, it's fine if you're building the puppet from the start like that, then you can build the internal part of the puppet first and cover over it, which is the ideal way to do it if you're building mechs. If you're adding mechs to an existing puppet, it becomes a real challenge because you're working with structure that's already there that wasn't meant to accommodate a mechanism or the extra weight or the tension. So, all right, I'm going to tie this off on here. A couple of you guys mentioned too about tying these off and not getting knots to stick in that. I over tie everything inside the heads. If I ever have to redo these, I over tie them to the point where I have to cut them off and just put new string on every time, because I'd rather have to do that than have them come apart or come untied while in the puppet and stop working. So if it's enough to give me downtime like that, then it better break rather than just be a maintenance issue or a knot that wasn't tied. So as silly as it sounds, I'll tie 5 or 6 knots in a row on the inside of something. Okay. Oh no, did I do that? I did. Good thing about these eye screws is they're open on one side. So if you forget them, like I just did, you can open them back up. Okay, so here's what we have on this one. Actually, can I get someone to give me a hand for a second and just hold this for me? So just hold it right there. You know. This spring's way too tight on this one. So I need to get a looser spring. And also it's the length too. If we shorten this up and just go with a regular one, we'll get a good pull on it. But you can see now I got a real good close too on it because I raised that piece up on the inside. Actually, let me show that. You can see that spring's at full extension right there. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where that one's closing compared to the other one. I think we could probably have even moved this forward a little bit because there was a little unnecessary extra height there. But again, that just comes with adjusting it each time. So anyway, that's our mech. That's pretty much the whole thing. Pop this in. And I got my little holes punched for my eyebrows right there. And there. There we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like inside. And you can see those standoffs, how they help support everything. So when you pull down on the ring, unfortunately the ring slipped. I just tied it, but I didn't tie it tight enough. So you see how low it's hanging in there. I want to tie that up tighter, but basically I want this movement. And that's pretty much the installation. You get the left and the right. The main secret though is making sure this is tight, this string's tight. See how loose this is hanging already because I didn't tie the knots off. Well, I tied the ones off. The one I just did, I tied like 5 times. The ones I did yesterday, or last time, I only tied off once, which is why I was able to untie it so easily with a pin. But make sure this ring's all the way up in the top, and then get your fingers in there, and that's it. That's yeah, you gotta tighten that one. Get the ring out. Yeah.